Hi, I'm Stacey Higginbotham.
And I'm Yael Grauer.
And I'm Jeff Landale.
And you are listening to
Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons. I'm your host, Gary Parker, and today we have episode 456 for November 24th, 2025. And since like 2017, I've put together an annual gift guide blog article right after the holiday shopping season kind of kicks off in earnest. And in this list, I'd outlined some do's and don'ts for buying tech gifts, with respect to privacy and security. Kind of basically my naughty and nice list of tech gifts. A lot of general guidelines and always some specific recommendations. And around the same time that article gets posted, I would also go over the highlights of this list in the podcast, usually as part of my tip of the week. But, always referring people back to the main article for details because I can't really cover it all in, 5 or 10 minutes as the tip of the week. And there's lots of links and things in the article that's helpful to have. But in recent years, I really wanted to do a whole podcast with this theme and bring in some other experts to get new ideas and opinions. And I have finally realized this dream. In the last year, I've had the pleasure of interviewing both Yael Grauer and Stacey Higginbotham from Consumer Reports, which is a wonderful organization and the perfect organization for reviewing products. And I talked them into helping me manifest this dream and to bring this show to life. And thankfully, they brought in one of their colleagues, Jeff Landale. It was a great crew. It was a heck of a lot of fun. And honestly, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we did making it, because it was a lot of fun. And if all goes well, this will become a new annual tradition. So fingers crossed on that. But for now, we have this. And it is wonderful. It is a great interview. Let's get to my best and worst gift guide whole episode for 2025. All right, guys, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm so glad you're here to do this. I've been doing this for years now, and it's like, man, it's just me. It's no fun. I want to get other people's opinions, and so you guys are the perfect people for this. Let's do a best and worst gift guide for 2025. I cannot wait. So let's go around the horn real quick. Stacey, let's start with you. Everybody just give me a quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Stacey Higginbotham, and I'm a policy fellow at Consumer Reports.
I'm Yael Grauer, and I am Program Manager of Cybersecurity Research at Consumer Reports.
And I'm Jeff Landale, and I'm a security education consultant here at Consumer Reports.
Consumer Reports is fantastic, guys. I've been a long time subscriber, like back in the paper days. Been around with you guys since way back. I think in college is when I started. So yeah, it's been a long time, long supporter of Consumer Reports. You guys do some wonderful stuff. And so you guys are great people to talk about this, and you've all got your own background, so I can't wait to get your opinions on this. So let's start with some basics. Given that most people aren't as nerdy and, as techie as maybe we are, let alone as uptight about security and privacy, what is your philosophy for tech gift giving? Yeah, let's start with you.
Sure. So I try to give people things that they're interested in, not necessarily what I think they should be using or what I'm interested in. Because I think when you are giving somebody a gift, they really want to be seen. They want to feel like it's personalized to them. So
sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it can be kind of obnoxious to give people
here, you should have this.
Yeah, exactly. You should be into this thing that I'm into that you don't care about. But I do think that crossovers can be fun. So if I can find something that we're both interested in, then that can be a really useful gift.
When you give something that's kind of privacy or security oriented, or maybe it's got like that subtle low-key feature that you're one of the reasons you give it to them, do you call that out for them, or are you just like, nah, they don't, I know it's there and I know they're going to benefit from that, but they don't need to know that?
I think it really depends on the person and the gift. But yeah, sometimes you can just give people something. You can let people know, oh, this is cool. Like, I know you're interested in X, and the reason I like it is because of Y. But I think it really depends on your relationship and the person.
All right, Stacey, what about you? Do you have you would think must have some tech giving gift philosophies.
Yeah, so for like a decade, I hosted a show that was all about the smart home, and people would ask me for smart home stuff all the time. And we'll talk about the pitfalls and perils that come with that. But if someone asks for something that's tech related, I will 100% give it to them, and I will target it to whatever like their actual needs are. So like if you want a video doorbell, but you don't want a cloud subscription, I'm going to totally try to find one without it, and one that will work within your Wi-Fi settings. And I'll even set it up for you because that's how friendly I am. But in general, I use all of my tech skills to jot down throughout the year when someone mentions that they want something.
I do that too.
So, yeah, it's so low key, but so worth it just to be like, oh, that person just said they loved this book or they loved whatever, or they really need hangers. I don't know why I picked hangers, but and then I'll send them. My husband once said this. I don't know why. He wanted hangers, and I was like, ooh. So I just sent myself a little email. So that is my gift giving secret. Tech only if you ask for it. And throughout the year, I'm constantly listening for the things that you say you want.
Well, the other thing too is that, like, if I'm at somebody's house and I see that, like, something, oh yeah, that thing's broken, or that thing's, they don't call out for it, but they actually have it and it's now broken, or I know that maybe I could get them a better one. I note that down too. Jeff, what about you?
I think just building on what Stacey said about helping people set up the tech gifts that they're getting, I always try to make sure that I get people gifts that I am able to help them set up and configure. I think particularly for stuff that's privacy focused or security focused, a lot of people are actually maybe not quite as concerned about it as those of us on this podcast, but still a lot more, concerned than people are generally given credit for. It's just a matter of figuring out how do you set this up in a way that's not making, for example, your web browsing experience a miserable nightmare where you can't load any page or something like that. So I try to make sure that I'm getting stuff that I'm able to walk people through setting up and configuring and letting them know that this is going to be a little bit different or maybe a little bit more difficult at first, but I'm here to help. I'm here to make sure it's as smooth and painless a process as possible. And particularly for, some family members and stuff like that, that also gets you in the spending time together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if it's not quite the same as going to Disneyland or something.
Spending time together, cursing your Wi-Fi network.
It's a new Thanksgiving tradition.
Or, just cursing about the gifts, the tech problems, something doesn't work right. And that's a curse that I certainly have, is giving gifts to someone that it always works for me. And I'm like, oh, it's plug and play, turnkey. Like, they're going to love this. And then they get it like, it doesn't work for me. I'm like, oh, man. It's like, I wanted it to be easy. Like, I didn't want to give you stress, right? I wanted to give you something that for me just worked out of the box. And so I guess we've already talked about it a little bit, but, some of my gift giving philosophy too, I think for me is, I like to find stuff that's private and secure by default, stuff that's easy, stuff that they don't have to configure if at all possible. If they do, I totally am with you. I love the idea of helping them go through it. And as you do it, maybe you can, sneak in a little preachy stuff about why this is important without being overbearing. If they don't ask, I don't tell. But, generally speaking, I try to make them understand why I think it's important. But I also love to give people better gifts and replace something that I know they have is really bad. Like if they've got Google Nest stuff or, Amazon Echo products, I love to get them replacements like Apple stuff that I at least think is generally more private. So I like doing that too.
As an Android user, if you gave me a bunch of Apple stuff, I would look at you and I would be like, yeah, thanks, buddy. I love this walled ecosystem.
Sure. Yeah, you got to be, yep. you got to be aware of that too. But yes. All right. So you guys look at this stuff all the time. What are some of the tech trends today that you personally find most troubling? What are some red flags as we're looking for gifts to give people? What should we be aware of?
I'll start. All right. Every tech gift that you give someone is basically, you just don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know how long it's going to behave the way that everybody thinks it's behaving when they set it up. So we call this software tethering. This is the idea that any tech or connected gift is connected to the cloud. And when something's connected to the cloud, the manufacturer of that product can change the terms on users. And you're seeing this like with connected devices. You most often hear it's like, oh my gosh, device X just stopped working for me. But you also see it, and you'll start to see it more often with AI and everything, because they're constantly changing the algorithms, or maybe not the algorithms itself, but the feature sets that are part of it. So I will just give one example that drives me nuts. I have a connected oven, and for a long time, it cooked my steaks one way, and then they improved the recipe. But they didn't improve it for me, and they didn't necessarily tell me, and suddenly my fancy steaks tasted a little bit different, and I was like, what is happening? And that was the reason why. And imagine that playing out over lots of different devices in your life. And it's like everyth's gaslighting you. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a huge fan, especially when you change the terms or change the feature set without letting people know.
Well, there was the recent story of the when the AWS went out and the people's smart beds stopped working because they couldn't connect to the cloud, right?
Yeah, that is sheer negligence. Any device that is connected to the cloud in the year of our Lord 2025 should have a fallback method that's functional.
Right. I mean, I think that should be a regulation. Like, it should be able to do its basic functions without talking to the internet. I mean, if I bought it and paid for it, it should. I understand that some features are cloud-based, but I mean, your stove should continue to work if it can't talk to the internet.
Yeah. We told the FTC that in 2024.
Well, I'll jump on the AI bandwagon. That's the thing that drives me nuts, is that we're putting AI in everything. And it's one thing to have it as a labeled feature on the box so you know what you're buying when you get it. But we're adding AI to stuff now that you've already owned. Like, they're doing it via software update. And it's just showing up. And sometimes they're not really clear that it's there and that these features are now probably sharing your data with something up in the cloud that it didn't used to do before. That feels surreptitious. That feels wrong to me. And it really bothers me. The other thing, and this is maybe a conspiracy theory of mine, but I tell you, this is going to happen. We're starting to put, well, a lot of these things are smart, so they're on the internet, but if they're on my internet and my Wi-Fi, I have at least some ability to control. Like, for instance, I can keep them off my internet. Second, I could use DNS or firewalls or things like that to keep them from talking to things I don't want them to talk to. But for more expensive devices, they're starting to put cellular modems in things. I can't control that. Like, if you buy a CPAP machine today, it comes with a built-in cellular modem that's pre-programmed. You cannot stop that thing from talking to the cloud. And some solar panels have this. Some whole home batteries have this. All of our cars have this. That bothers me, because if you don't know what's in there, you wouldn't know this thing is exfiltrating your personal data. And it's getting cheap. I mean, they use like 4G and LTE data. It's really in bulk. That's got to be a cheap service to run too. So that's personally what I'm worried about. All right, who wants to go next?
Honestly, if not for the privacy implications of that stuff, I think we need to stop it just to make sure that the people who wrap everything in tinfoil aren't proven correct. Because they're not going to let us forget that they warned us.
Right. And I can't make my house a Faraday cage. I mean, I do have some wireless that needs to get out.
I mean, I think building on the AI stuff, a lot of the advertisements that I'm seeing put into streaming services, YouTube and stuff like that, all seem to be, I don't know quite what the word is, but AI adjacent-ish, or look like they're sort of made by AI, or I really hope that it was an AI making this, because it's got that kind of like weird semi-inhuman monotone stuff. And I don't know if I'm just out of touch with what's going on with the world, but some of those ads are disturbingly weird. They're just, I mean, they're like bizarre in a way that makes me really uncomfortable when I'm trying to sit there watching a streaming TV show or listening to music or watching a movie trailer on YouTube or something like that. And it just seems more and more common that it's not just advertisements, which I personally find really insufferable and hate having shoved into everything, but advertisements that aren't just, great, I have to turn my brain off for 30 seconds and hope I don't memorize a jingle, but advertisements that are frankly freaking me out and making me really uncomfortable. And so I think the trend of just really trying to monetize by shoving all of these automatically generated ads into everything is really concerning for me, and has really been, I've been going through streaming services and trying to find which ones I can set up with family plans so that none of my family members who are listening to music or watching movies are going to get sort of overwhelmed or, you know, hopefully not tricked into buying any of this weird stuff. Even at the gym I go to, which is the cute little like corner gym, a bunch of cats hang out there. It's great. They've got, I think, one of the streaming services for the music, and they don't have the paid plan. And, you know, I think next month I'm just going to say, hey guys, can I just like add you onto it? Because I really don't want these like weird, you know, fake medical advertisements that you're not even quite sure what they're selling, but you know you don't want it blasting when I'm just trying to do a workout.
Well, did you see that recent thing about Facebook? They're doing AI ads now that are hyper targeted. Like, it's like the one I saw that was it was a 404 media, and they were showing a crowd at a stadium, and everybody had on their team colors or whatever, but they could change the team color based on who you were and what teams they know you liked. Like, you know, it could be red because you're a Commanders fan, or it could be, gold because you're black and gold because you're a Purdue fan. And it was Ticketmaster, of course, because it was Ticketmaster. And, and the advertisements underneath were, that was targeted toward you. The stadium at Ross-Ade Stadium. Don't you miss that? Buy tickets or whatever. And that's super creepy.
I think that's from Minority Report, and the one thing Spielberg got wrong is that it was going to be so stupid.
I actually sent that exact tweet out on social media. I said, Minority Report is here.
But dumb.
Yeah, right. Because in the movie, Tom Cruise's character is walking around. They scan his iris as he walks by, and the video ads as he passes them are geared towards him. Yeah, we're there. Now, how about you?
On that bright and happy note. No, I'm just kidding. No, I still get annoyed. I don't know if this is a new thing or not. It's probably been around for a long time, but I get really annoyed when people buy security tools that make them think that they have better security than they do. Like VPNs. There's so many VPN ads that will say, oh, this is bulletproof. Like you will never have to worry about being hacked again.
Right. Silver bullet. Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, a lot of times people who are using VPNs don't think that they're getting a level of protection that they already have because of HTTPS, or they think that, I don't know. It's depressing. I talked to a teacher once who was really worried that she wasn't on her VPN when she was banking because she had some free VPN, but only a certain amount of hours. And I'm like, you're good with your bank. You're probably fine, using HTTPS for your bank account.
Right.
So I think people just hear about every hack every day and start panicking about their data, and then they buy something that they think will solve it, even though they're still, reusing their passwords, not using MFA and stuff like that. So they just want to pay to make it go away. And it's pretty depressing.
Well, I understand what hit the easy button to make that happen. And you got to blame the VPN sellers, especially a lot of the really cheap ones. They sell it that way. I mean, that's how they're marketing it. That's where these people get that idea.
Right. Yeah, it's the marketing, and also these YouTube people will get affiliate sponsorships and just promote stuff however they think they can sell it to their audience, and then people trust the people whose YouTube channels they watch. So,
well, and as we found out recently, a lot of the VPNs are actually owned by the same parent company, and a lot of the review sites are also owned by those parent companies.
Right.
It's just like the mattress world. Excellent.
Big mattress and big VPN are in bed together.
Big mattress.
But no one can see. It's all behind closed doors.
That's right. It's all in a tunnel. All right. So does anybody have any tech gift horror stories? It could be something personal, something that either someone got you or you got someone else that went awry, or, maybe something ripped from the headlines, some anecdote that you could call out that would be illustrative.
Oh, I have one. Before I was at Consumer Reports, I was a full-time freelancer, and I would get my clients gifts at the end of each year, and something inexpensive because a lot of people have policy limits on how much they can accept, the value of the gift. But I bought everybody these charity gift cards one year where they would select a charity and it would donate money to that charity in their name. And I had no idea until I started getting emails that it would out the charity that they picked to me, which, if you're writing about privacy and security, your editors might not want. And then it's I couldn't even bring it up after it happened because I don't want to tell people oh, by the way, I didn't know you like dogs, But you can actually tell a lot about people by what charity they select. And I don't know if they would have wanted me to know. So I just started deleting those. But I feel like if I had even known in advance, I could tell them by the way, if your charities are secret, use a fake email address.
Oh my God. Well, even though you were nice about that, I mean, that just goes to show that that's possible. Gift cards are given out all the time, sign up for this thing or buy this product and, won't give you a rebate, but we'll give you this really cool gift card. It's well, why would they do that? Not just give me a rebate? Well, because they can track what you buy with that card. Drives me nuts. Stacey, how about you? Anything?
Because I'm a smart home person, I gave my sister-in-law I'll be honest, they wanted Ring gear. So I did give them the 2-minute spiel on why I'm not a huge fan of Ring gear, but if that's what you want, it's your gift. And then I had to spend so long, a full day, setting up the camera. And because I realized their Wi-Fi network was terrible, then I actually ended up getting them I didn't get them, but I sent them out to purchase a mesh Wi-Fi system because their house needed coverage everywhere. And Then they changed their password and SSID with the new Wi-Fi system,
Oh,
which is
no.
actually really good. Like,
Sure.
I actually recommend that people do that especially if you're not a diligent user of your guest network. I do recommend that people try to do this like every 3 to 5 years. But they already had a lot of smart stuff. And so then we spent the rest of the afternoon relogging into everything. And then for the next probably 6 months, I got calls from my niece, my nephews, and my sister-in-law whenever any sort of weird tech glitch happened, because they felt that it was because of this particular.
Oh, no. Oh, that's
And
horrible.
The other thing, I actually gave my best friend a security key because they were really freaked out about this, and they asked for it, so I gave it to them. And then they're very forgetful, and they lost it.
Oh, no.
And
This
so,
is like a YubiKey or something, right?
Yes. And I explained how important it was to have a backup. I should have gotten them 2 and kept the other one because... But there were a lot of learnings. So those are my 2 like really terrible gift lessons.
I had the Ring thing too, but it was Ring regret. I think I'm going to coin that phrase now, Ring regret, because I bought it for my mom before Ring went rogue, before they got bought out. You know, back when they were still independent, and I had one at the time, and then they went rogue. I'm like, oh. So anyway, I've heard rumors that Apple's going to come out with a video doorbell. That would be fantastic. So that will be my excuse to rip that one out and install her an Apple one. And that's happened to me with other things too. That's the one that comes to mind. But you give somebody something, and because of enshittification, it was good when you got it, and then later it's not good. And people keep these things until they die. And so then I feel bad because now I've gave them a Trojan horse, and I, so that's my regret story. Jeff, do you have a story?
I do have a story, but my mom has a Google alert for my name, and I'll probably end up listening to this podcast, and I love my mom too much to maybe get into that one, so I'm going to hold my peace. I love you, Mom.
Okay. Given, I hope, but yes, okay. Giving gifts to kids, especially tech gifts, is tough. I remember when my kids were growing up, it was right around that time when not all kids had smartphones. Kids usually had flip phones or dumb phones back in that time, and as they were just in the cusp of the iPhone era, and we, held off on that as long as we could. But that was when kids all of a sudden had something that was on the internet or could be on the internet all the time. There are special considerations for kids. So how do you guys recommend people think about tech gifts for kids?
How you model privacy for your kids is going to be how they're going to expect to be treated when they grow up. And so I think it's really important to think through, especially if you're concerned around the safety of your child, wanting to know what they're up to and what they're doing, that needs to be balanced with understanding that that's the kind of stuff that they're going to expect is normal behavior, or may struggle through trying to understand as whether or not that's normal behavior when they grow up and move out into the world, and particularly with other people that are going to be in their life. And so I've done a lot of work around children's privacy, and especially with parents around them, trying to just explain that if you track everything that your child does on their phone, they're going to expect that's normal from somebody who loves and cares about them. But you probably don't want them growing up expecting that's normal and acceptable behavior from a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something like that. And so I think trying to make sure that your kid understands that you're there to protect them, you're there to help them, you want to ensure their safety, but you also respect and understand that they're an autonomous individual moving through the world with their own private thoughts, private interactions, private things that they're doing with their life is really, really, really key and important. And I've unfortunately worked with kids and families that have had to spend a lot of time untangling those kind of dynamics that have come up when that's not a priority.
Well, at a macro level, I worry about just mass surveillance in the same way. When I was interviewing Christopher Lees about this topic, I said, I'm worried that the kids that are growing up now don't know what it's like to live in a world where you're not surveilled all the time. Like, that's normal to them. And I don't like that that's normal. So, yeah, I'm with you 100%. That's a good sentiment.
And I don't know if I haven't seen studies on this particularly, but I do know that given the rise in sort of mental health issues that a lot of the younger generations are dealing with, I would guess that there may be some connection between that and growing up in an environment where you don't have that much space to just sort of be yourself. If there's, cameras everywhere in your home, if every text message you send to your friends is, potentially monitorable, that kind of anxiety is just really going to be hard to shake.
Panopticon, yeah.
Yeah. And I will say because of my former job, I had like 80 to 100 smart devices in my home at any one given point in time, which is a lot. And every device that came into the home, I explained to everybody in the home exactly what it had. I showed them on my phone, this is the camera view. This is how this works. This is what I can see. So like my kid, when the Amazon Echo device first came out, they were about 6, I think. And it was actually a great device for our house because it gave them, they didn't have access to our Spotify account because they didn't have a phone. So then they could play whatever music they wanted whenever they wanted. Yeah. And Baby Shark was not a thing. So yes. But I made it very clear. I was like, hey, kid, every time you ask Amazon to play this, I know, I can see. And I would show them this. And these are conversations you have to have all the time with them. But it also created these really fun interactions that I don't want to totally discount as part of like this panopticon. I traveled a lot for business. We had a video doorbell. When my kid and husband left every day when I was traveling, my kid would ring the doorbell. I would get a notification and we would have this like little conversation. And I mean, that's nice.
Yeah.
But they also opted into that to a certain extent. And there are times my kid does not want to be tracked. Like the fact that our cars, everybody in my family hates the fact that we can see where they are by logging into the app from our car. There's no way to turn that off. And we just had to have a conversation. I was like, okay, look, I used to spy on my family for where they were shopping for Christmas presents because I'm a bad person. Be like, oh my God, they're parked at, I don't know, Barnes and Noble. That's not really super indicative of anything, but, and I would tell them, but we actually signed like a little pledge. We're like, okay, we're not going to stalk you for this. Or if the weather's really bad and we're kind of nervous, I'm like, hey, we're actually going to just check on your progress while you're on your way to the school dance.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Stacey, I want to say that I think I really like the like dialogue and conversation and sort of making it a two-way conversation that you're talking about with your family. I just think that's so key and that's so important. And that's also such a good way to get kids to start thinking about what data is being collected and what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with from a young age. So,
and to let them change it over time. That's always like when your exhibitionist 6-year-old is suddenly like, oh my God. Like every teen goes through a point where they're like, nobody needs to know I listen to Taylor Swift or whatever, insert whatever. Right.
Guilty pleasure.
And they should feel free to come to you and tell you that, or be like, hey, stop looking at this, delete this data.
Yeah, I will say I also learn a lot from kids. Like I feel like kids are way more tech savvy than people sometimes give them credit for. I'm like, if I want to know how to do something, more anonymously or how to break something, I will ask a teenager.
Right.
Or just forbid them, and then they'll figure it out on their own.
And then watch what happens. Yeah, that's right. I didn't really try to restrict too many of the gifts I give my kids. I did say like we tried to hold off on like the smartphones for a while, but the hard fast rule I definitely did have is no screens in the bedroom at night. Like they had to put their Chromebooks and they had to put their phones on a charger where I could see them downstairs before they went to bed. And that way they were definitely charged the next day. And I also knew because I understand. I mean that tempting is just unbeatable. You cannot resist. You get that notification sound or you think about something, I just want to look this up real quick. And then the next thing you know, you're doom scrolling or something. And so that was kind of the only maybe kid advice that I could maybe give is it's definitely don't want them to, because they cannot resist the urge. I mean, when they get to be a certain age, that maybe 16, 17, that's different, but it's certainly when they're younger.
I mean, I think that's a good rule for adults. Like I don't keep my phone in the bedroom. I'll be up playing games all night.
True.
So I charge it in the bathroom that's connected to the bedroom so I can hear the alarm, but I'm not like on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've actually been shopping for just an analog alarm clock because I need to have my phone out, which currently is also my alarm clock, outside of my bedroom at night, because after 30 minutes of tossing and turning, I really don't need the temptation of just reaching over and going, oh, maybe one video and then I'll fall asleep.
Never just one. It's like Pringles. Okay, so all right. So one of the key things that I do on my list every year is I try to call out specific things that I can think of, recommendations I can make people who are looking for something good or trying to maybe avoid something bad. And let's start with the bad, my naughty list. Now our naughty list. What I'm so excited. What gifts would you recommend that people definitely not give? Maybe especially popular ones, maybe that are common gifts that are really just not good when it comes to security or maybe privacy.
I think that if somebody asked for a gift, then I would probably just get it for them. If somebody really wants something, then I would get it for them, even if I'm not necessarily into it. That kind of goes back to my gift giving philosophy. But if somebody does not ask for it, I don't get people DNA tests because aside from all the privacy issues, which there are a lot of, people can find out information about their family that's really unsettling.
Yes.
I know a lot of people. Yeah, people will get these and be like, "Oh, I thought I was related biologically to my father, and I'm not."
Yes.
So I don't get that. I like to keep holidays light, happy. I don't want to be responsible for somebody who's not ready for that kind of revelation to find that out.
Sure. Stacey, you must have some devices on your naughty list.
There's a lot of concern right now about TP-Link and the government potentially banning TP-Link, which is one of the most popular routers, and they make a lot of smart home gear. So if someone comes to me, and no one has yet, asking in my family, people have, asking what they should do with their TP-Link stuff, I tell them they should upgrade to the Eero mesh routers if they want a mesh, just because in general, I know Amazon owns Eero, but their routers are designed in a way that they do focus a lot on cybersecurity. And they have a lot of really proactive cybersecurity features. Some of those are behind a paywall, but some of them are not. And then I like showing people how to use it so they can see like weird things on their network. I can give them my spiel about guest networks, all of which are good. And in general, I don't give people connected gifts, again, because I don't want to support it, because I don't have all the research for what's really super good. So yeah, I'm kind of boring that way.
So where do you come down on TP-Link? Do you think the government's picking them out and soloing just because this feels like TikTok all over again to me? Like it's from China, it must be bad. Is there more to it than that?
What, Carrie?
We can skip this if you want. Okay. I could take that out if you don't want to go there.
Okay. What the Trump administration or people who are talking about this, they are talking about using TP-Link as a bargaining chip within the overall Trump negotiations with China. That being said, we cannot ignore the links between the Chinese government and devices and things that are made in China. And TP-Link is a company that is based now in the US. The brother of the CEO is still in China. Do I think there's going to be something crazy there? I don't know. There's a lot of like anti-Chinese sentiment happening here that I don't particularly love. But I will say that we have seen with Huawei, with other companies, that the Chinese government does have influence over these companies. I think from a national security perspective, it's a lot more worrisome than it is for a consumer. Most consumers probably don't need to worry about China hacking into their bank accounts from their router or something, which is what most consumers feel like that's their big concern about any smart devices. So that's kind of my feelings there. And there are lots of other products out there, although a lot of them are also, those boards are made in China.
Sure. Yeah, right. Almost everything is today. Yeah, right. All right, Jeff, how about you?
All right, before I give my answer, I actually want to pivot back to Yael's because I think the DNA tests I'm 100% with.
Yeah.
Is your dog's info public? Can I talk about that on the podcast?
Oh, like my dog personally?
Yeah.
I posted about her birthday.
Okay, yeah. I figured. I just wanted to check. So I wanted to just ask you about the dog DNA tests that I've seen. And if that falls under the same privacy considerations, because I know that your beloved dog Bailey just turned 10 yesterday. Happy birthday, Bailey. Would you get a DNA test for your dog or would you avoid that?
I've gotten DNA tests for my dog. I also don't really have an issue with puppy surveillance.
Okay.
Because my dog said that she will be surveilled in exchange for extra treats. I don't know if that's meaningful consent, but...
And you're not worried about some parentage issues coming up?
They do allow you to talk to other dogs that are, like, you can talk to owners of other dogs that are, but I never use that feature.
Really?
Yeah, they'll be like, this dog has...
revealing a father dog that you didn't think was the father dog.
No, they'll like be like, oh, this is your dog's cousin. Do you want to talk to them? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need to like meet people that way. But I actually got 2 dog DNA tests because I was worried about accuracy, and they were both pretty similar.
So dog DNA tests, but perhaps configuring some of the privacy settings to not necessarily get connected to distant relatives.
Yeah, and it's actually really difficult to know if I have puppy consent. Like, I think she's okay with it. She might just not know.
Yeah.
Well, the perennial ones on my list are I usually tell people to avoid anything from Google, Facebook, and Amazon. And I know that includes Eero. And again, I think that was one of the companies that they bought out. It wasn't always that way. And I know that not all of these are just because they are associated with these companies are necessarily always bad. I don't want to do guilt by association, but if you can find an alternative, I usually recommend that. But that includes a lot of things you don't think about, like Ring was bought by Amazon, Nest bought by Google, Fitbit, Blink, Eero. There's been so many that have been bought out that started as independent companies. You may know them that way, but they're not that way anymore. And I guess I'm just jaded now. I just think, why did they buy them? They bought them for the customers. They bought them for the data. So they must be doing something. And I can't shake that. So anyway,
I'm gonna vehemently disagree with that.
Oh, okay,
stance.
Please.
Let's have some fun here.
Yeah.
I will say that Google and Amazon both are very proactive on the cybersecurity front.
Yes, they are.
So if we're just talking from a cybersecurity perspective, these are companies that have really good infrastructure.
They do, and I often say that. Yep, I agree.
And if we're talking about data privacy, you have to read the individual privacy terms for each product, and they do change over time. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they're any worse. And in some cases, they're better stewards of the data than, I would say, even your grocery store, like couponing club or loyalty program. So, and I honestly think that Amazon in particular is very transparent with what they do with a lot of their data. And now I wouldn't give anyone any Amazon Echo gear, mostly because it's super proactive about talking to, and I find that incredibly annoying, and I don't want that in people's lives. But I think you're actually taking some really good products off the market from a security perspective and popular products. And when people have a backlash to something on Google or Amazon, those companies tend to respond. Like if everybody gets mad about the use of their data, like let's say Fitbit's using your temperature data to track your pregnancy and people don't want to do that anymore, there's enough people in that device pool that Google will probably pull back from like doing pretty questionable things. So that's just my counterpoint.
Oh, sure. No, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, for security, actually, these guys are usually pretty darn good, especially Google. Google security is
Google
usually
publishes
top-notch.
like cybersecurity tests and reports,
yes.
like of their actual testing on their website, and they put it out there for everyone to see. I love that for them and us.
The way I usually explain that is, for me, it's when it comes to security, you and the maker selling that stuff are usually on the same side. It's usually in both of your best interests to protect your security and your data. When it comes to privacy, there's just too much conflict of interest for me. And so I'm not absolute. I'm not a purist. There are definitely cases where I think some of these things are fine as long as you know what you're doing. But if I have my druthers, if I have a choice, certainly between something like, often for me, it comes down to Apple versus some of these other ones. Because I think Apple, in a lot of cases, they do have advertising, but it's not their main business. I think they're generally better stewards of people's data. So that's often when it comes down for me. If I could tell you to get Apple versus Google, I will often say Apple. If there is no competing Apple product, there's a lot of them that aren't. Sometimes go with the better security and just know what the risks are in terms of privacy. I agree. Yael, you're nodding. Do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, no, I agree. Like, this has come up a lot when we think about what types of browser recommendations to make, which is always like Firefox versus Chrome. And I'm like, Google has a huge security team. Like, and when you look at something like a Chromebook, that's something that I recommend to people who are at high risk and need to wipe their computer and make sure that it's actually really wiped. Like, I just don't, it's just a good product. And
it's kind of like Tails for the average, like the Tails operating system for the average person.
Right. So people are always like, oh, you're shilling for Google. I'm like, there was a Chromebook equivalent. I would recommend that. for this use case, but I just don't know of any. So.
And absent a federal privacy law in the US, I think it is impossible and unrealistic for consumers to actually be able to adequately assess the risks and protect against the risks of their data getting used by companies in ways they don't. So I almost feel like telling someone, well, don't buy a Nest camera because we can't, like, I don't know what Google's going to do with that data. That's actually, I don't think that's as helpful. I'm sorry, Carrie.
No, that's why we have these. That's why we have all you here. I want to get all these opinions. That's fantastic. No, I love that opinion. That's great.
Maybe plus oneing some of this as well. I've had a tendency to avoid a lot of the new products by startups that don't have a viable business plan for how they're going to make money, in part because often that means once they run out of investment funds, I'm going to become the product, or the product's going to get dramatically degraded, which can sometimes be an argument in favor of products made by some of the larger corporations that are a little bit more standard, which is not to say that they're also not going to start squeezing their products and making them as crummy as possible to try to get every last penny out of us, but they won't be forced to necessarily, with the alternative being to go out of business. And then also many of these products without viable business opportunities do go out of business, and then suddenly your smart bed no longer works.
Right. It's fun to say, if the product is free, then you're probably the product. That's not always true. There are companies that still have a business model where some of their products could be free. So there are caveats, but what kills me most is that the converse is not true. Like, just because they're charging you doesn't mean they're private either.
True. I will say, if you...
Wow.
Found out about the DNA tests for the dogs. I'm sorry.
It's like he not consent.
Mailman is here. Sorry.
I will say, if you're looking for a more privacy-centric smart home, the Homey ecosystem is actually a European company. They follow European guidelines. Their whole thing is that they will charge you a fee because they don't actually want to monetize your data. They're very clear about that. They might get bought one day. That might change. But as of today, it works well. It does have a limited number of integrations, which is why, you need to look at their website and see if the stuff you want works with that. But from the smart home perspective, that's an ecosystem that's more privacy-centric for you, Carrie, and doesn't rely on walling people into the Apple ecosystem in what I would argue is punitive.
Sure. Yeah. It's a walled garden, but it's a very nice walled garden in some way. Anyway.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's a gilded cage. So that might be a good segue for the nice list. Let's talk about some of our favorite tech gifts that are maybe better than average when it comes to security and privacy. Yael, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I like my gilded cage specifically for I am an Apple person, I guess. But I was really excited about the new iPhone memory protection safeguards.
Oh, yeah.
So I am definitely I think that this isn't relevant to everybody. Like, are you at risk of memory safety attacks? Like, are you being targeted? But the people I know who think that they might be vulnerable to these attacks are like very vulnerable to them, and they're scary. Like, and I thought about this when we first found out I had a friend help me figure out if I had Pegasus on my phone. It was right after the news broke out and before Amnesty and all these other companies came up with apps so you could check easily. And I remember they told me, like, until we figure out memory safety for phones, I can't really help you with the Pegasuses we don't know about, which really freaked me out. So I'm definitely one of those people that's going to get a new iPhone because of the memory safety protections.
And to be clear, that's the iPhone 17 that has the hardware support for this feature. But as you explained in the article, which I just put out in socials, even people without an iPhone 17 can get some of these benefits, yes?
Yeah, because they're going to find all these bugs and go back and fix them and backport it.
Right.
So, yes. But if you are worried about somebody using a 0 day against you, if you're in that small group of politicians, activists, journalists, people who might be targeted by a nation state attacker, then there are some benefits to having the new one. But yeah, it's as I wrote about in the post, which we can link to in the show notes,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it definitely offers that's what's so cool about it. It's such a cohesive and thoughtful approach. It's probably the first time I've been really impressed by a tech company in a really long time. And then it does actually improve the entire iOS ecosystem, which is amazing. And
then I know you talked about this in the article, but for the benefit of the audience, where's Android come in on this?
Apple actually was kind of first to the game by shipping memory tagging extension capable hardware over 2 years ago. So they had kind of an early start, but I think Apple's technology implementation, their deployment goes beyond Google's efforts and will far better protect consumers against memory safety attacks. But there was some information I was trying to get from Google that there's a few things we still don't know, like they have Advanced Protection Program, which has MTE, but we don't know exactly what is protected by it. Is it the entire operating system, including Play services? Is it just the apps? Which apps? And there's a few questions I have about how they enforce. So what Apple does that's so cool is that when an attacker attempts a memory safety related exploit, they immediately crash the process. And we just don't know if Google offers that same level of protection. And then it gets complicated. Like there's discussions about like, is this asynchronous enforcement? Is it synchronous enforcement? Blah, blah, blah. But like the bottom line is that we don't know if Google's protection, like if it shuts down these attacks in the same way and then what is covered. So it would be really cool to have more transparency there.
Absolutely. And they could change this. They could update with a software update, and we might have all that in the future. So I'll be looking at this too. But if you see them come out with something like that, or if they respond to you, let me know, and I'll make sure my audience hears about that as well.
Cool.
Stacey, what about you? Do you have a nice list item that you could throw out for everybody?
Well, I feel the Homey Smart Home Hub is a nice list item.
Homey?
Homey, yes.
Okay.
There's a Homey and a Homey Pro. And then I will say I like a lot of the Matter ecosystem stuff just because it's starting to work better.
You probably need to explain what Matter is real quick.
Oh, that's right. Matter, again, smart home stuff. Matter is an interoperability platform. It's a protocol for smart home stuff. So it allows like smart home devices from one vendor to work with another if they're all Matter compliant. It's been a long road.
It has.
But if you have something that says it's Matter over Thread, any Matter over Thread devices will work locally if there's a Thread network that's enabled, which is nice when like cloud support ends and that sort of thing. So that's always kind of nice. There's not a lot of stuff out there yet, but IKEA just launched a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's pretty reasonably priced. We have not assessed that for privacy or security yet. So do with that what you will, but I'm gonna play with it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear your report on that. All right, let us know. All right, Jeff, what about you? What are some of your go-to best gifts?
I am a big believer that tech does not need to mean digital or connected. I think that there are a lot of good non-digital alternatives to a lot of the tech gifts that people give that simply don't need privacy policies because they're not collecting data. They're not doing anything with data. And so I've had actually a lot, especially with younger cousins and stuff like that, a lot of really positive responses to some of the lower tech gifts that I've given them. For example, one of those, I think they're like Instamax or Polaroid cameras.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You take the photo and it prints it out immediately. I don't think you need to shake it anymore, but it's fun to shake
I don't know
it.
that you ever need to shake it, but okay.
You know, at least not for the photo development part. You still needed to shake it, but I think that's gone over really well. I think even, you know, Stacey, you mentioned maybe getting to a point of not wanting everybody to know just how often you're listening to the new Taylor Swift album, CD, vinyl player, something like that, that also has sort of this sentimental aspect to it because it's a physical thing that you can sort of hold on to or display or physically carry around and have. I've also, in a lot of cases, found that these types of sort of lower tech gifts can just be more practical in the long run. My computer address book is just a giant nightmare and a mess. It's got, 2,000 contacts, 1,900 of whom I will never speak to again because it's somebody that sent me an email once.
Right.
I've got an address book. Every year, I just go through it and make sure all the people I want to be in touch with are updated, and I've got their current info and contact info and address and so on. And then I send them a postcard. And even postcards, which are, not protected by an envelope, and I know they get scanned by USPS, and I know there's been a lot of privacy concerns about what USPS is doing with that. It's still not getting fed into a system that's going to be sending somebody advertisements for whatever keywords I happen to mention in it. I'm pretty sure they're not doing that yet. I probably shouldn't say that definitively. So yeah, I think both just as like cool retro gifts and also a way to just have parts of your life not be online and constantly surveilled. It can be really fun to find those alternatives.
I think that's fantastic. And to Stacey's point, they're not tethered. Like all the media we get today is licensed. We don't own anything anymore. Even if you, quote unquote, buy that movie on a streaming service or buy a song from iTunes, you don't own that. That could disappear at any minute. But a physical book or a physical LP, you'll have that as long as you have, as long as you don't break it. My daughters are really both into vinyl. And I think, I don't know, this may be anecdotal, but it really seems almost like the kids are like a little bit of a tech lash. Do you guys notice that at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think part of it, not a sociologist, but I think part of it is that anything that kids grow up seeing their parents really into is automatically cringe and embarrassing. You don't want it. And so, if you've got kids growing up seeing their parents kind of like staring at their phones or their screens or their computers a lot and stuff like that, they're going to go, I want something that's different. I want something that's not quite what my parents are doing.
But to your point, I find it infuriating that I want the uncorrected part of the books. I don't want to buy books that can just get changed without me knowing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe you want to buy books that you could loan out to other people.
Yep.
I think you can actually do that with ebooks now.
You can do it with ebooks. You can loan them out some ebooks, but you have to actually share it within a family or loan it and they get an email. So I will tell you, if you loan out an ebook to someone who's a friend of yours, right? You don't actually get an email, or as of a year ago, you didn't actually get an email saying if they ever opened it or not. So that's kind of nice.
I am a Libby user, so I will read books on my phone from the library because it's just easier but I prefer physical books.
Yeah. I also think for a lot of these lower tech alternatives, maybe less so for books through Libby, well, even with books, that there's just a lot of stuff that's not available except in physical. Yeah. I'm lucky enough I live in a city where there's a DVD rental store that's still active and thriving. They've got 95,000 titles. I think Netflix is something like 5,000 or 6,000.
Wow.
And so there's just such a wider range of options when you're able to be in an environment where you can access this stuff. Often at the library has maybe not a wider selection than Netflix, but certainly they're going to have a lot of stuff that Netflix doesn't have.
Well, from a privacy perspective, that was one of the interesting privacy cases from way back when. One of the earlier privacy things was getting somebody's list of what books they'd gotten from the library.
Yep.
And now with everyone using Libby, now I'm curious. I wonder if that is still covered under that same law or if that is not. Because, that's the other problem with these things.
It would be under Libby's terms and use. Right. And although your DVD store also doesn't get to share your DVD rentals, as we learned in was it the Robert Bork?
It was VHS probably back in the day, right? And that carried forward. That same law applied to the newer medium. Okay.
To Blockbuster.
I also know that librarians do not get a copy of the books. They don't have access to the copy of the books that you've checked out, except for what is currently out, and they don't have access to your Libby back. And I was actually I've been talking to librarians this week. I think you probably get more privacy looking something up in a library computer for a lot of libraries because it gets wiped after and they take their privacy policies really seriously. And I'm like, is this the last bastion of privacy?
They're great. I had interviewed Alison Macrina years ago and she was fantastic. She's part of I forget what the name of her project was.
Library Freedom Project.
Yes. And
love
it was
her.
Great. She's great. And I need to talk to her again, see if I can get her back on the show. I don't even know what she's up to, but librarians are at the front lines of all that stuff. It was great. All for librarians. Go librarians.
Yeah, I think Allison is still at LFP.
All right.
Just to join the chorus, Library Freedom Project does a lot of fantastic work around protecting your privacy in libraries and training librarians on best uses and best practices for this sort of stuff.
And access to information, yeah.
Yeah, just such a cool organization.
Absolutely. All right, so real quick, let me give my nice list thing. So for me, I pretty much alluded to this, but for me, it's like Apple stuff. And I know Stacey's going to cringe, but I've been an Apple person for a long time. And again, I just, they're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But when it comes down to it, they're just better in a lot of ways. And so certainly for privacy. And they're actually pretty good for security too. So a lot of times I like giving Apple TVs or HomePods or AirTags Apple went to great lengths to make AirTags. Now, I know they had problems for a while with stocking and things like that, but they've really come a long way. And they've actually even worked with Google on that, which I think was great. So anyway, yeah, so for me, I tend to go Apple stuff just because it's an easy button thing. They usually work pretty well. The interfaces are great, so they don't complain. The people who get them don't complain. Like, this is some janky, super ultra private thing that nobody else knows about and doesn't work well and doesn't work with anything else. Yes, you do have to be in the Apple ecosystem. I will grant that. But okay, so here's a question for you. What do you do if you get something that you just know is a privacy nightmare or a security nightmare, or maybe you're at the family thing and you see somebody get one of these gifts? If you know it's bad, what do you do anything? Do you stay quiet? What do you do?
I don't know if I would say anything in the moment. Like, I don't know if I would say like, oh my God, I can't believe you got this person this cringe gift that is horrible for privacy and security. But I would help them configure it. Maybe not in that moment, but if somebody came to me and asked me, like, or I could get them information about, you can often configure even quote bad gifts in a way that is better, or you can at least help people make decisions that are appropriate for them. Like, what are they worried about? What are the trade-offs? So I would have that conversation with them if they come to me or if they're open to it.
So you would proactively do it. Maybe it depends on who they are.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to harass people. Like, let me help you make your horrible gift slightly less horrible by making it harder to use.
Stacey, what about you? Do you feel compelled to call these things out?
I am a terribly socially awkward person who will call it out. I did learn very early on that you should do it in private. So I will pull the person aside and I'll be like, hey, you know that DNA test that someone got you? I don't know if you're aware of this, but here's how that could backfire or whatever, just so you know. And that's about it. Unless someone gives a horrible gift to me that's very invasive, and then every now and again I'll use it as a teaching moment and everybody in my family hates me for it. But they know that. They've learned quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've definitely gotten one or two gifts where all of my technical acumen has suddenly vanished. And I, gosh golly, am just not able to figure out how to set this up. But definitely it's on my to-do list, and I'm going to get to it soon. And you just try to dodge that bullet like Neo as much as you possibly can.
Back to something actually you said earlier, what I'll often tell some people is just to keep it dumb if they can. Like if I think that this device is really bad for security or privacy or whatever, first of all, I'll tell them to put it on their guest network, just to kind of keep it isolated. But otherwise, if you can keep it dumb, and TVs to me are the go-to for this because TVs are horrible as privacy. All the content recognition stuff they got going on. I never hook any of my TVs to the internet, and I just tell people to get a streaming box if they want to get their Netflix and all the apps that they normally would run on the TV. Just don't do that. So if you can keep it dumb, do that. Don't connect your toaster to the internet if you really don't need to start your toast while you're driving up to your house or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think also like when you're trying to decide whether to talk to somebody about it or not, you have to think about like, what is your goal? Like, are you actually trying to help them be safer, or you just want to seem really smart about security?
Right.
Like, are you going to just make people feel bad? So I'll admit I have an Aura ring, and when I was trying to get it, I was asking people for like, if you have one, there's these great 20% off codes or something like that. And I was asking people for it, and they had all sworn off Aura for whatever reason and would not share their codes. And I'm like, I'm still going to get one. I'm going to find somebody who gives me a code. And now I'm low-key annoyed at these people because I feel like they're like, my interpretation of your risks using this are better than yours, so I'm not going to facilitate your terrible decisions.
So maybe they just didn't want to link to you.
Rude.
No, I'm just saying that affiliate code then puts them and you, and you're like, oh, these people know each other.
No, true. These are people who stopped using their rings because they were upset about an article that I didn't have the same reaction to. So.
Yeah. All right.
I do think it's really important. I think it's really important for us to remember that as people who are really passionate about privacy and cybersecurity, and we find it really interesting and we like to think about it a lot and talk about it a lot, that for everybody else, that kind of puts us in the same category as, I don't want to be mean to, I'm a vegetarian. People there are annoying vegetarians out there. There are vegetarians out there that'll be like, oh, this delicious meal, have you considered just replacing half the ingredients and making it taste like sludge and mush? Just none of us are immune from that. None of us are above it, no matter how much work you've done on yourself, how much therapy, how many times people have yelled at you. So just always remember that, we're a foot away from just being really obnoxious to a lot of people around us.
Yeah. And I think also like everybody has, well, maybe Carrie, you don't, but I'd say like most people I know, even who are privacy security nerds, have something that somebody else would never have in their home and might judge you for. So none of us are perfect. Like we're not, and so I don't know. You have to be careful about how other people make those trade-offs and like, are you actually helping them or not?
Well, there's a lot of purists, but there's also a lot of different threat models, and there's a lot of different, people have different tolerances for things. So what's right for you may not be right for me, and you got to know that.
Right. And I think also if you yell at somebody for owning something, they're not going to come to you when they want to learn how to configure it better. So, and that's true about, I had this conversation with people about bringing phones to protests. And I actually wrote a blog post about it on my personal blog where I'm like, here are all your options and these are the trade-offs. And I trust you that as a person with agency and with like better knowledge than I have of your exact threat model and what you're comfortable with to make a decision based on what you think is appropriate for you. And so, yeah, I don't know. If you are constantly judging people for owning something, they're not going to come to you to help you figure out how to configure it better.
Yep, very true.
That's so true. And I think one of the things that I always have to remind myself is that people using technology want to, and this is going to sound so straightforward and simple, but it's easy to forget. The people using technology want to do things with the technology, and they want to do that as privately and securely as possible. They're not sitting there going, I want to be as private and secure as possible as my number one goal. And then if I happen to get to watch a movie or send a text message or something, that's cool too. And so our role is to try to help people do the things that they want to do as well as possible and minimizing the risks as much as possible. But for us, what's sort of a primary goal of privacy and security is often, it's secondary for most people. It's a thing that would be really nice to have as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah, and I think even when somebody gets you what you think is like a cringe gift, they thought about you and are like, oh, they're really into tech. I'm going to get them something that I think they would love. Like they're not trying to, ruin your day.
Right.
But I don't know. So that's what I try to remember, like give people a little grace. And also, don't be the person who hands out toothbrushes on Halloween.
Right.
What about raisins?
You shouldn't eat candy. Candy is evil.
Right. Yeah, it's a good analogy, actually. All right. So are there any gifts that are like on your wish list, things that don't exist, or maybe current products that you just want to tweak, just like if they could change the one thing, what would you do?
Okay. I'm going to go because I was so mad when Amazon stopped letting you load your ebooks from your Kindle to your computer. So you could technically own these digital files. But I love my Kindle Paperwhite because it's waterproof and I love reading. I read in the hot tub. I live in the Pacific Northwest and it's like the best thing in the world. And I found one. Kobo actually makes an e-reader that is waterproof. So that is on my, at first I didn't think it existed. So that's what I would like.
All right. Yael, how about you?
Well, now I want a hot tub. So no, I have an inflatable hot tub actually, but I want a real one. No, I have a couple things. So I have this amazing privacy screen on my computer. I don't like these on all the time because sometimes they mess up the brightness, but I will put it on if I'm about to type in a password or something very private somewhere public. And I want one for my phone. I don't know if that's even possible, but I wish I had one for my phone because I don't want one all the time. And then the other thing that I want, so I'm a big Signal user. And I have read receipts turned on because it could be really useful to see if somebody read a message, but I want to be able to selectively turn it off for specific people. Yeah. Who will just text you over and over again and get mad if you don't respond. And like, I always try to just mute them and put it in a different folder and stuff like that. But it would just be easier if I could read it without anybody knowing. But I want it on. Yeah. I want to be able to have that kind of delineation. All
right. Jeff, how about you?
I just want to be able to buy gifts or buy things, anything, without getting inundated with a tsunami of marketing emails afterwards.
Surveys and...
Yeah. I bought a muffin from a place 2 years ago. I'm still hearing from them. It's just, it was an okay muffin. I was hungry. But you've got these events, you've got these new muffins. I don't live in that part of the country anymore. Like, just let me give you money in exchange for a product, and then we never have to interact again. You know, for whatever issues capitalism has, I thought part of it was that we got to have these nice impersonal interactions mediated only by money. And now I'm finding out about this muffin baker's life story, and I'm not here for that journey. So, you know, let me just give you money and we never interact again. And I feel like a grumpy old person saying that, but it's
no, I feel you. I totally feel you.
And I love it.
Jeff doesn't want to know the Muffin Man.
I love it when you unsubscribe and they ask you, like, why are you leaving me? It's like, honey, I moved 10 years ago.
Right? Like, this isn't a breakup.
They want to know why they're being rejected.
Inbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yes. All right. Well, I have so many of these ideas that come to my head, things I want, and this one's a little complicated, but I really want, because AI is cool, and because a lot of AI stuff still does kind of require some processing and home automation and blah, blah, blah. I want a hub. I want a private hub that I have at home, and I could see Apple making this. I remember they used to have the home routers, the airport. And they used to make these things called airports, which are great. And I think that like a home hub like that, where I could have processing power and I could access it even from outside my house. And there's so many things I want to do at that router too, for like monitoring traffic and whatever. But I'd love to have basically a personal cloud that I control. All the data lives in that cloud. I can access it from anywhere, but only I have access to that data. I would love for that to exist.
So you could do that with Home Assistant.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it with Homey. They don't share that data. They do. It's in their cloud. But you could build your own local server. Now, all the attendant fun of keeping your server up and running. But you could do that with Home Assistant. And they actually make hardware that you don't have to build your own little like Pi and put all the little hats on it and everything. But so that does exist. And if you haven't played with Home Assistant, I don't know why you haven't. It's amazing.
Oh, I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I need to do that. I do want some turnkey. I mean, even for myself, because like even though I have the capability to do it, I don't want to have to deal with it. But I could.
Well, they have the hardware now. They even have a voice assistant that runs locally.
Oh, I like that. Okay. I'll definitely have to check that out. Look, my wish just got granted. All right. Yay. Clouds part.
I have one more thing that I wish. I would like a federal privacy law. That is good.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Amen.
I'm so glad that California does what it does, because we do get some side benefits from that, not living in California. But, oh, man, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do know why it hasn't happened, but it bugs me so bad. It drives me crazy. Yep, I'm with you. Okay, so after we've discussed everything we've discussed today, anything else? Any other hot tips you want to pass on for the holiday shopper? Anything else you want to tell people about?
I have a couple.
Okay.
One of them is get a really great gift is a Consumer Reports subscription.
Yes.
And we actually have a $10 off code for your listener.
Oh, yay. That's wonderful. That's great. And it lasts until how long, I think?
It goes till the end of the year.
Awesome.
And it's at cr.org/FDSD.
For Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons. Yay.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's great. And what's
And
your
then
second
other
one?
than that, like holiday scams are a big thing. So just keep an eye out for, I have to repeat this every year because it happens every year. Every year someone will tell me like, I thought my manager wanted me to get gift cards.
Yes.
Or even people who are selling things around the holidays to get more money for presents. Somebody will say that they paid and ask for a refund so that they can, like, for the difference, and then the original thing doesn't go through. So just keep an eye out. If something looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Well, and if you believe in hell, there's a special place there for people that do charity scams, and they see like the holidays is when those come out too. And that, oh God, that makes me so sick.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to jump in for anybody who has found that they've been targeted and a victim of a scam, that it is a lot more common than you think.
Yeah.
It's not a reflection on you. It's not an indication that you necessarily did anything wrong. And one of the methods that these scammers use is to deliberately try to make you feel too terrible and too embarrassed and too ashamed to reach out for help and try to resolve this. And it's so important to just try to push through those feelings. Contact somebody you know, maybe somebody who's a little bit more, has some technical skills and smarts, and just say, hey, this happened to me. Can you help me walk through it? So according to the 2025 Consumer Cyber Readiness Report that we put out in October or September, a month or two ago, about 1 in 10 Americans that were surveyed had said that they had lost money due to a digital scam.
And it really can't happen to any of us. I mean, I've known a lot of folks in our space that are security and privacy people that have gotten burned. Troy Hunt famously posted on social media, I'll never forget this, and I thought it was great that he did. It's like, hey, I just got scammed. Here's how it happened. Let me walk you through it, and I'll tell you how somebody who is, I mean, he's the guy behind Have I Been Pwned. He's the guy of any of us you should know better. And he was tired. He was traveling, and it happens. I mean, it could happen to anybody. And some of these scams, honestly, with AI especially, are getting really good. All right, the thing I want to throw out is, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit today, but I really like the idea of giving your time and helping other people. And so a couple of years ago, I came up with this thing, what I call Dragon coupons. And the idea being, these are downloadable things. It's a PDF. Each page is a different coupon, but it's like, I will set up a password manager for it, and there's a blank, and you fill in the blank. And this is something you can put in someone's stocking. Or I'll help you set up two-factor authentication. Or I'll help you set up a new router or something like that. And it's you can give the gift of your time. And I'm really big about, for those of us who do understand these things, or even if you just understand one thing, helping someone else and spreading it. It does have an effect. And there is such a thing as herd immunity. I mean, the more people do these things, the better off we all are. So that's the kind of thing. And I'll put a note to my Dragon coupons, but it's also fdsd.me/coupons if you want to get it there, but I'll put a link in the show notes.
Oh, you should also plug your amazing challenge coin. It is one of the coolest challenge coins I've ever seen.
Well, it is cool, but it's only given to a select few. And I think, well, yes, I give them out to special people. Yeah, you're special. And they're cool.
We traded.
that is true. There was some bartering involved. But I am actually going to be doing a new patron promo, and I do give some to new patrons sometimes. So I'll be doing that in December. So stay tuned for info about that. And yes, I think it's I semi-collect challenge coins, and I think it's one of the coolest ones there is, if I say so myself. All right, so a couple more questions here before we go. And we've talked, I guess, a little bit about this, but what are some other great non-tech gifts? Some other things if we're trying to get away from screens and trying to get away from smart anything. What are some other fun things you might give instead? Stacey, why don't you go first?
I love giving non-tech gifts. I will say, and I love highly personalized gifts. So anybody who's in like late Gen X, early millennial, a really fun gift is you can donate to The Onion. And if you donate I think it's like $99 maybe, they'll send you every month a physical copy of The Onion paper.
Really?
Which
they
is
print it?
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
They print it and they mail it to you, and it's equally hilarious online and in print.
I love The Onion.
Yeah, and it's not like crazy prohibitive. So that's one gift. And then the other, this is silly because I am obsessed with mountains and I live in the PNW, but there are mountains everywhere and they cover them. There's this awesome company called North Drinkware, and they make glassware that has the imprint of mountains on the inside of the glassware. So I have like Mount Baker and Mount Rainier or Tahoma. So, if it's not tech, but it's really unique. And
yeah. Oh, I love unique gifts. That's fun. Really cool. I like that. Y'all, what about you?
I have so many gifts I like to give people.
Okay, hit us with them.
Okay, so Darn Tough socks are the best socks ever. They're so warm. As a person who's always cold, I also like giving away Lola blankets, which are very expensive, but you can usually find, they have a lot of sales, so you can find coupon codes online. Okay. But they have some weight to them, so even if you're always cold, they're so soft and so fuzzy and just amazing.
Okay.
And then there's a game called A Puzzle a Day by Dragon Fjord, and it's basically a puzzle for every day of the year, and it's like physical puzzle pieces where you try to put the pieces in, like you want it to have, it's like a calendar, and you put in the pieces to fit to the day of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Somebody actually 3D printed me one with like the Jewish calendar, which was like probably the best gift I've ever gotten.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
And then I like getting people Mooncat nail polish because it has, like, if they're at all into science, there's color changing nail polish. They like both holographic and like temperature changing. They have magnetic polishes, just really amazing things you can do with
I remember
nail
they used to have mood ring nail polish. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, there's versions of it that are, but you can use like a magnet and make all these fun designs. It's pretty easy to use, even if you're not good at nail polish. So those are fun. And then there's a couple of books I like to give away. One of them is The Woman Who Smashed Codes.
I've been wanting to read that, yeah.
Yeah, it's about Elizabeth Friedman, who deciphered enemy codes in both world wars. She was America's first female cryptanalyst. Like, she's just amazing, pioneering codebreaker. So if people are into history, that's something we can kind of connect on because they like history. I like cryptography. They can like read that and we can talk about it. And then there's just this amazing book called Bottoms Up and the Devil Laughs, which is sort of about surveillance in post-privacy America. And it's just a really fun read.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard of that one. I'll check that one out. All right. Very cool. All right. Jeff, what about you?
Stacey, these tumblers are great. As someone who's moved out to the Pacific Northwest 2 years ago, I do have a lot of people in my life who really like mountains after being horrified to discover just how long a quote-unquote short hike is to some of these insane people. That's not how we use that phrase on the East Coast. But I think for non-tech gifts, I love giving lessons and classes, paying for somebody to learn a new skill and help out. I think that's both a fun way to just try to get away from this surveillance economy that we live in. Learning a new skill, it's incredibly hard for them to go into your brain and just inshitify it. I'm sure they're trying to figure out a way to do that. And I've always been of the opinion that one of the ways that a lot of these tech and social media companies really kind of get their claws into people is just, it's really hard to be connected to other people. And so the social media apps and stuff like that, it gives us some form, sometimes illusory, sometimes not, sometimes real connections with other people, but nothing beats just being in person with a group of people that have a shared interest or shared passion. And wherever you live, personally, I think that the coolest people are going to be the ones that are excited to continue learning and continue gaining skills and continue kind of growing as a person. So whether that's I've been doing archery or I'm going to sign up for some cooking lessons and learn a couple new cooking skills, just across the board, it's really great. And then sometimes you get somebody a gift of go to this class, learn this new skill. And if it's cooking related, then they can cook you something nice. So it's a virtuous cycle.
Or you could do it with them.
Yes, right.
Also
exactly.
that something to do with people too.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, experiences are wonderful. If you know someone well enough to figure out this experience they would enjoy, that is a great gift. That's the hard part for me, is knowing I would hate to gift somebody an experience that they just don't want to do. I have the idea.
I got my husband really hates segways, because they get in the bike lanes and he just doesn't like them. And so I ironically got us Segway tour tickets. We had a great time.
Yeah. All right. So my gift. So I like books too. I collect signed books actually, which I like to get. When I interview someone who wrote a book, I always try to get a signed copy. And so Privacy is Power by Carissa Valise, I love. It's a great book. She's a philosophy professor, so it's not like dry and techie. It's really actually very poignant. If you haven't read it, I absolutely recommend Privacy is Power. Data and Goliath by Bruce Schneier is another great book. Cory Doctorow just came out with Enshittification, which he's been talking about with me for years and other people. So I can't wait to read it, but I'm sure that's going to be a wonderful book. And then I also just read Careless People, which was about Facebook, and that is a real eye-opener. If you're a Facebook person at all, that is an interesting book to read. It's interesting anyway.
It will make you not want to be a Facebook person.
Exactly, yes. So I like books, and those are some great books that I'd like to recommend. Okay, let's go around the horn real quick. What else does Consumer Reports have to help people with their security and privacy? Give us a plug for something that we should go check out.
Oh, you should check out securityplanner.org, especially if you are at home for the holidays and your family wants suggestions on privacy and security, so you can kind of help them through the plan. That is my biggest recommendation as a person who works on it.
And it's great. I love that tool. I like that it's a threat modeling tool. I mean, it asks you questions about your particular situation and then gives you recommendations, which is perfect.
Yay. Yeah. And then we also have this article that Thomas Germain wrote that people might, sometimes when you visit your family, they might, and I don't want to, sometimes people's families are very tech savvy and sometimes they're not. And sometimes they're like, can you help me turn off all of the AI in the products that I use? How can I get rid of this? And we have an article that can help them do that.
Oh, good. Because it's gotten bad. Yeah. All right. Stacey, how about you?
Most of my work is on the legislative side, so it's hard for me to tell people but I will say that we do have our permission slip app and service. So that is for getting your data out of, or opting out of data from companies. And that's at permissionslipcr.com.
Yes. All right, Jeff, what about you?
I also work on Security Planner with Yael. I think it's a great tool. I thought it was one of the best security planners and digital security tools out there even before I started working on it a few years ago. I've been really proud of the work we've been putting in there to keep it updated and accurate and adding new articles and new recommendations for people. And it's also a tool that we have really designed towards just regular average consumers out there and individuals. And we've done a lot of work to try to make sure it's accessible and understandable to everyone out there who just wants to continue having their life out there and using the tech that they're using while making sure that their privacy and security is as protected as possible.
Well, I think that's actually one of the great points about this particular tool is you do go to great lengths to keep it up to date. I lurk on your mailing list. So I see when you guys talk about, monthly or whatever, when you do the updates, and I'm always like monthly. So I'm always impressed that you guys are like on top of it. Like, well, we need to update this because this changed or whatever. And there's a lot of great tools out there that just get stale, and they started out great, but they never get updated, and things change all the time. So yeah, that's another great part of that tool. So I will absolutely back that up as a recommendation.
Thank you. Yeah, Jeff has been doing this kind of never-ending update tour.
It's teamwork.
All right, guys, that was so fun. I'm so glad we did this. I really hope we can manage to make this an annual thing. No pressure. But I would love to do this again. Thanks for doing this. It made it a lot more fun than me just doing this by myself and talking out into the ether. So thank you all for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. This has been so fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. It's always fun.
That was so fun. We had such a great time. And when I do these interviews, I have video so I can see everybody and we can all see each other. And so there was a lot of visual stuff that you missed, a lot of us cracking up off air and whatever. And there was some stuff before and after. I will say, though, that the bonus Q&A for this week is 10 times funnier. But real quick, I do want to say that in this one, which was recorded several weeks ago, I did say that I was going to do the new patron promotion in December. I have since decided to move that to January. So I've been saying that recently, but just not to confuse you, that new patron promotion will happen in January. So again, you can get $10 off an annual subscription at Consumer Reports. They set up a special code for me. If you go to consumerreports.org/FDSD, as in firewalls don't stop dragons. If you go there, you will see my logo. And if you sign up for Consumer Reports, you will get $10 off for the annual subscription, which is a good deal. The link is also in the show notes, just in case you don't remember that. And there are several other links in the show notes, but I couldn't really put links to like every product we mentioned. I am still going to be doing a blog article on this, and I'm going to try to put all that stuff there. There are some links in the show notes, of course. You can get to Consumer Reports. You can get to Security Planner. You can get to my coupon code. You could get to my previous interviews with Yael and Stacey. And there are some other ones in there, but there's a character limit on some of the places where I post this show note list. So I can't put everything in there. So my regular gift guide will still come out as a blog article, and that'll come out this coming Sunday. And if you go to my website, firewallsdon'tstopdragons.com, anytime after 11 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, you will see the article, and a lot of these gift suggestions that we talked about today will be linked to in there. Okay, so y'all mentioned the Pegasus spyware, which we've talked about on the show before. It's something that most of you listening to this probably do not have to worry about. However, if you are one of the people that may be targeted by nation-state level malware, the new iPhone, which is the 17 and 17 Pro, really does crank up security. It's something you might want to consider getting. I've definitely considered upgrading myself, and I've got the previous year's model. I usually try to go at least 3 years with the same phone, but I am considering, for this reason alone, upgrading to an iPhone 17 Pro. I mean, I'm not likely to be targeted by mercenary spyware either, but I just like the idea of having a device that's a lot harder to hack into. Like even at border crossings where an agent might confiscate my device, or even temporarily. Sometimes they hook them up to tools like Celebrite and Grayshift, where they try to hack into your device. Or, maybe my device gets stolen by criminals that have access to similar tools. There are other reasons why you might want these kind of protections. Anyway, she also talked about installing an app that will tell you if your device has been compromised. I just want to say that's really tricky to do in practice, and it's not 100% reliable. But if you're interested, there are a couple tools I might recommend. One is from Amnesty International called Mobile Verification Toolkit. Yeah, you could play with that one. Also, there's an app called iVerify that you can install that will do some scanning for that as well. I actually interviewed the co-founders of iVerify a few years back, if you want to go back and find that interview. But also, if you really are a target for stuff like this, if you're a journalist or a dissident in a repressive regime or whatever, and you think your phone might be compromised, reach out to like Citizen Lab or Amnesty International for help. They want examples of this spyware for study, so you'd actually be helping them as well. So if that's a thing for you, just FYI. Yael mentioned an article on this. I did link to that article in the show notes, as well as to my interview with the iVerify guys. So I also will just say that if you sign up for my newsletter, you will get that blog article automatically. It would just be sent to your inbox. My blog articles and my newsletters are usually the same thing. So if you want them to be sent to your mailbox, you could just sign up for the newsletter, which of course you could do on my website. Also, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this. We thought about it, but Consumer Reports has some recommendations for vulnerability disclosure programs, an article that Stacey wrote recently. And so I put a link to that in the show notes as well. It's well worth a read. Now, I also do an annual Give Thanks blog, which has a lot of great organizations you might want to consider donating to. There's a lot of groups out there doing wonderful work, including, of course, Consumer Reports. And you can support them by being a subscriber. And of course, you've got a coupon to do that, which, by the way, lasts till the end of this year. But the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the Center for Democracy and Technology, there are a lot of other groups that I call out in this article, and I'll be updating that soon. If it's not there by the time this episode comes out, it will be out sometime this week. All right, so for the patrons on Thursday, we will have bonus Q&A with my panel today, and we got super silly in these bonus Q&As. It was so much fun. We talk about holiday traditions and what gets us on the holiday mood. I reveal some personal stories that really date me as a human being. We tackle some tough questions like, is Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie? And by the way, that discussion took a turn that I did not see coming. And we riff a little bit on the normalization of mass surveillance via Santa, who knows when you've been bad or good and watches when you sleep, as well as the elf on the shelf. It was a really silly discussion. The patrons will hear that one on Thursday as usual. All right, so obviously some other gift ideas. You could buy people a copy of my book, Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons. You can also give them Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons merchandise. I do have lots of swag with my logo on it if you're interested in showing your support that way. And then, of course, I do have the Dragon coupons. And the coupons it's a PDF file made from a PowerPoint presentation where every slide or every page is a coupon at the top, and then at the bottom is like a checklist of things that you should do in support of that coupon, including references to my book. So if you're looking for detailed information about how to do those things, with the idea being that you're giving people the gift of your time and attention, helping them to do things to make them more secure and more private that they may not be able to do for themselves. And you could, of course, also put these on your own wish list if you want someone to help you accomplish these tasks. So if you go to fdsd.me/coupons, you'll see that article. There's also a link in the show notes. And then one last little tidbit before we go. I talked about easy opt-outs last week, which is a great service for deleting your data from the internet and trying, people search sites and data brokers and things like that. A listener reached out to me and said that when they signed up, they were sent to PayPal to handle the payment. And as they were doing that, there was a checkbox that says automatically create a PayPal account for me, which I hate when they do that. Like, why? Anyway, I haven't done it for a long time, so I didn't notice that. And I have a PayPal account already, so I probably didn't have that checkbox. But if you do that, just beware that you might want to uncheck that box as you pay for easy opt-outs. And I've got a coupon for easy opt-outs as well. You can find that on the opt-out blog article that I wrote last week. All right, next week we got one more news show for 2025, and then we're into December, folks, and I've got a lot of great best of shows lined up for you, including a replay of my very first interview with Troy Hunt about Have I Been Pwned? And unless you're a patron, at least one of those best of episodes is stuff you've never heard before. It's from the patron-only podcast. So that's all coming in December, but before that, we've got a big news show. Lots of stuff already to talk about there. That will be next week. All right, that's going to do it for this week. Thanks for hanging in. I know we ran a little bit long today, but I think it was totally worth it. And I hope you felt the same. So until next week, everybody, take care. Stay safe out there. Have a happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate. And until next time, as always, don't get caught with your drawbridge down.